system for what some call unfair practices. The woman heading up the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction talks one-on-one with 6 on Your Side investigator Tara Morgan about parole reform.
It's time to expose the parole board. All of them must go.
As Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry fights to fix what they say is a non-transparent and unfair system,
I think it needs modernized.
the head of the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction says changes within her power are happening with the Ohio Parole Board.
Because I think it is time for change, and I think there's things that can be improved.
ODRC Director Annette Chambers-Smith sat down with ABC6 Investigates. She says she came to the realization a need for improvements before she took the helm.
My experience.
Part of it followed a conversation with former board member Shirley Smith, who shared with us what she described as a sickening experience with parole hearings.
An offender would sit there while the parole board members were eating lunch or on the phone or doing their next day's case. And I'm thinking, if this was a job interview, what do you think your chances would be?
I definitely think, wow, I wouldn't want someone eating during my parole hearing. These are things that I think are things that need addressed, and I wondered why they were doing that.
Chambers-Smith says she also spoke with prisoner right advocacy groups, parolees, inmates, victims, and the board itself.
I realized that they were not even using current terminology about mental health and substance use disorder things. And so right then I started thinking to myself, we need to inject some information here and some new blood to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of science with a lot of things.
When Chambers-Smith took over as director, the parole board only had 1 member with no connection to ODRC. There are now 4, and Chambers-Smith says she'll take it to 5 members who've never worked for the department.
And that will allow us to have more diverse backgrounds and thoughts coming into what's going on. I think that's reasonable.
I'm Tara. Still, inmates we spoke with say it is pointless to go before the board when they've been given more time for nature of the crime despite meeting their minimum sentences and completing rehabilitation programs.
I would say that the people who are out on parole would think that differently.
Decisions to release are based on 18 factors ranging from what the prosecutor and victims say to institutional adjustments.
Yeah, we do have 10% parole rate at least. And while that's not, I don't want to bet on that in Vegas, it is a significant number of people getting parole. And let's keep in mind the types of crimes we're talking about here are rape, murder, kidnapping, or they're crimes where there is a person who is a victim.
Chambers-Smith says she thinks they can do a better job communicating the reason for a decision.
Because it's not just nature of the crime, it's likelihood to reoffend and a lot of other things, but that's all everyone seizes on.
As part of a reform initiative, board members will be trained in motivational interviewing and structured decision making.
I think the board should not be expected to just do everything off of a piece of paper and documents. I think talking to a human being that really knows that person is going to make a difference for some people.
Candace, good, how are you?
Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry wants an inmate's institutional hearing recorded with transcripts made public, something that would require legislative action.
I'm not opposed to that. If that is what the General Assembly decides, we will implement that. Obviously, we're the ones that thought of live streaming the full board hearing, so that's not something, it's not a secret.
Chambers-Smith says some of the training for board members should be completed by end of summer or early fall. Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry is still working with legislators on its bill. Tara Morgan, 6 on Your Side, investigates.